All right, welcome back to the welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a video about one of my least favorite fighters, Jermell Charlo, and what he had to say about Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, and also the 154-pound division. I think that it is a very good interview. Always enjoy listening to Jermell Charlo. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So one of my least favorite fighters, Jermell Charlo. First, let me explain to you what I mean by one of my least favorite fighters. Love what the dude does in the ring. I love his attitude in the ring. I think this guy is one of the best fighters in the world. I don't understand how people don't have him on their top pound for pound list and all that stuff. Well, I understand it, but his absence, in my opinion, is inexcusable. This guy at 154 pounds in one of the deepest weight classes in boxing is, in my estimation, hands down, the best fighter in that weight class, the number 154 pounder. I think that he has proven it in the fact that he has been the most consistent guy out there in a division that is pretty much stacked at the top with guys like himself, J-Rock, Jarrett Hurd, Eris Landy Lara, Brian Castano, Jason Rosario, guys like that, man. It's real deep in the 154-pound division. And Jermell Charlo is the guy that has been at the top of that. Now, I know that people are going to say that he lost the fight to Tony Harrison. My opinion is, man, that was a very questionable call. In my opinion, I thought Jermell Charlo won the fight to begin with, but he definitely won the second one when he came back and knocked out Tony Harrison. So, you know, he's the better man. Between he and Tony Harrison, there's no question who the better man is. And he did what he's supposed to do, got his belt back. He's the top 154 pounder, especially when you consider none of these other guys can find a way not to get beat up. Right. And that's what happened to Jarrett Hurd. That's what happened to J-Rock. And these guys have not to this day, avenged that loss and came back. You even have the guy who's Jason Rosario, who's a very good fighter, got knocked out by a lower level 154 pounder in Nathaniel Gallimore. So that just tells you, and leaving Nathaniel Gallimore out of that, man, it's just real deep in 154-pound division. So I think he's the best guy there. I think he also, with his combination of skills and power and aggression, I think he's one of the best. He should be considered one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. Now, why I call him my least favorite is because, the dude's attitude is something else, man. The guy, that's just a wild dude, man. That is a aggressive cat. Just seems like somebody that would just in regular life would fight just at the drop of a dime, man. And typically speaking, I don't like to be around people like that, man, that are too froggy. But hey, what he does inside the ring, without a doubt, man, the man is an absolute beast. So he was on Instagram Live. I think it's Instagram Live. I assume it's Instagram Live, because what people are doing, and I'm surprised that they're not, YouTube's not saying anything about this, or maybe it is and just people don't care, but they're basically taking the content off of the Instagram Live interviews, that they're live streams that they're doing, and they're being put up on different channels. So I believe that that's Instagram Live, and I got to see the one that he gave that was put up on Fight Hype, and I don't mind Fight Hype doing it. Thank you, Fight Hype. And Fight Hype's also been doing a lot of really good interviews. That's one channel I think that is definitely doing an excellent job during this time where there's not a lot of boxing going on. But in this interview, Jermell Charlo talks very briefly about Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, and he refers to Terrence Crawford. He's like, man, all these people with this Terrence Crawford shit. He throws, I think I'm long enough in this video to use the word shit, but he's like, this Crawford shit, and saying how, look, man, people are going to try to doubt and hate on Errol Spence Jr., saying he's not ready and all that stuff. But he pointed out that, look, man, he's like, look, if the guy wasn't ready to train, and he wasn't, in that type of, that if he wasn't the same, then he wouldn't come back. Right now, I'm realizing, I think, the reason that that's true is because Errol Spence Jr. has earned enough money where he didn't have to come back. But Jermell Charlo was vouching for him and saying, hey, look, man, this guy is he's where he said he's going to be. He's the best 147 pounder, and just basically brushes off the idea that Terrence Bud Crawford is a legitimate contest for Errol Spence Jr. He didn't speak about it in depth, but he just pretty much just went at it like, hey man, that Terrence Crawford's just some shit. Now, obviously there is he didn't call him that. He's just saying the idea that Errol Spence Jr. can't beat Terrence Crawford is just some nonsense, and Errol Spence Jr. is the top 147 pounder. And look, man, I agree 100% that Errol Spence Jr. is the top 147 pounder. I do think that there's, that it's not unreasonable for people to believe that Terrence Crawford can beat him. But hey, man, I'm close. My opinion is closer to the side of Jermell Charlo. But the best part of that interview, though, man, is where, Jermell Charlo is he's just talking about the fact that you don't hear. The fact that first of all, he is the best 154 pounder, but you don't hear people at 154 pounds, being very anxious to fight him. And you see that with Jarrett Hurd. If you recall, when Jarrett Hurd was originally won his belt, I think he got the first belt that he had was the IBF 154 pound championship that he won off of, I think he might have won that off Austin Trout, or he won it in the fight with Austin Trout. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If J-Rock had already had that before, Jarrett Hurd had that before. But Jarrett Hurd, once he got the IBF and then he got the WBA off of Erislandy Lara, he never acted like he wanted to fight Jermell Charlo. In fact, he basically said that he didn't want to, and he wanted to let the fight grow or whatever, what have you. But that was when he got it to the point where he had two of the belts. So that he could reasonably be considered at the time as the top 154 pounder because he had two belts. My personal opinion was that Jermell Charlo, who was the longer reigning champion and who I think is just all around a better fighter than Jarrett Hurd, and I think then more people now will agree with what my stance was then. I think that that Jarrett Hurd just didn't want to fight him because Jarrett Hurd knows that there's a significant chance he would have lost that fight. So he goes off and fights some British guy, looks bad in the first couple rounds, but then just steps up and knocks him out. He goes to fight J-Rock and, takes a fight with J-Rock, which my understanding is the trainer said, nah, man, that's a bad matchup. He winds up fighting J-Rock, losing to J-Rock, then doesn't exercise his immediate rematch clause with J-Rock. So then J-Rock becomes a champion. Now, I'm not going to say that J-Rock is one of these guys that don't want to fight Jermell Charlo. I can't, Jermell Charlo, but I'll tell you, he had a dang sure bad run-in with his brother, Jermell Charlo. And so he wasn't in the position, but to be fair to J-Rock just wasn't in the position to fight Jermell Charlo because Jermell Charlo had lost to Tony Harrison and had his rematch, had all that stuff in the works, pretty much right after J-Rock won the belt off of Austin Trout, off of Jarrett Hurd. So he wasn't able to go right into it. At first, there was a little bit of talk about whether or not Jarrett Hurd was going to go right back into the rematch. He decides against it. Then J-Rock, in his very first fight, fights Jason Rosario. Now Jason Rosario has those two belts. So those two belts are just, they're just kind of like in a getting passed around. But then when Jason Rosario wins the fight, Jason Rosario's not talking about fighting Jermell Charlo. He says he needs more time, something to that effect. And of course, it originally, right after it happened, originally J-Rock has a rematch clause, but yet J-Rock decided that he wasn't going to implement that rematch clause. Now Jason Rosario is free and ready to go. Now I've not heard Jason Rosario say that he wants to fight Jermell Jermell Charlo, but that's, that in my opinion is the fight that needs to happen next. And I don't think Jason Rosario is going to be able to do anything with Jermell Charlo. The unique thing about Jermell Charlo is, if you look at these 154 pounders, at least this is what I see, is that Jermell is somebody that can fight in two entirely different styles and do it very, very well. I think Tony Harrison is probably one of the best, quote unquote boxers at 154 pounds. And so Jermell Charlo was able to be very aggressive and get him out of there, right? On the other hand, if you look at the early part of Jermell Charlo's career, dude, he can also box, right? So if you have somebody like a Jarrett Hurd that's going to be coming at him, man, he can be getting pieced up for long periods of that fight. I just think the guy's the best at 154 pounds. I agreed with what he said about nobody being hungry to fight him. Without a doubt, I think that he should be he should be considered one of the top pound for pound fighters in boxing. And I can see him dominating that 154 pound division for a while. If the WBO belt over there is getting held, being held hostage by Oscar De La Hoya and that Teixeira nonsense. But that aside, I think Jermell will get his hands on all those belts eventually, and then when he does that, there won't be any choice but to put him where he belongs. So anyway, go check, listen to that interview. Thought it was very, 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 very insightful. And it was very enjoyable, man, because Jermell Charlo even talked about the fact that he cries, right? And people are saying, you're a crybaby. He's like, man, people that are emotional cry is what it is, man. That's what my thought is. Like, man, everybody cries at some point in time in their life, man. If you get passionate about something, that's what happens, man. It's a bodily function. Anyway, but it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.